What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So for this horror trailer review, we are taking a look at the trailer for the film called Harvest. Landry Jones stars in Surreal, Fable shot on 16mm. Now we don't see that happen too often. We don't see too many films happening, or whether it's horror films, films in general, still wanting to use 16mm. Many films, especially big blockbuster films, obviously those are going to use or want to use the best high digital quality they can, even go as far as trying to film the entire thing in IMAX, which we know how expensive that can get. So for horror films and films like this, obviously they're not going to go the IMAX route from a budgetary perspective. But the fact that some are still willing and wanting to use 16mm to give it, I think, in my opinion, just that grittiness look that I think serves well for many horror films. And I wish more horror films would take advantage of that fact. I think it's something that serves well to the genre. And of course, it depends on the film, depends on the story, whether or not it would make it, it would add to the aesthetic and to the story. I also think, side note, I think horror films would benefit greatly from the grindhouse feel and look. So when you think about Death Proof, right, the first part of Death Proof, if horror films would lean more towards into that, to the look, the crackling, the cigarette burns, the skipping of like the film, I think some horror films could look very good and come across very well using that particular style. And I wish it was a style that we would see a lot more often in modern day filming. So with that said, let's get into the details of this article. Then we're going to take a look at the trailer. As you can see from the timestamp here, this was posted late yesterday. So this trailer just came out. So I have not heard of this film. This is the first I'm hearing about this film. This is the first time I'm going to be seeing this trailer. So I am interested in this, especially, I mean, just seeing this first image on here looks interesting. So I was intrigued by this picture, thought, okay, let's do a video on it. So let's take a look at these details. Then we're going to jump into the trailer. So described as a spell binding and thrillingly distinctive period piece. Okay, so I'm hooked already, because you all know I love period piece films. Regardless if it's horror or not, I'm just a huge fan of period piece films. Harvest is a surreal folktale starring Caleb Landry Jones. So that's 2 check marks for me. I love period piece films, and I'm becoming lately really hooked on folklore horror, folktale horror films. It's quickly becoming one of my favorite subgenres. I'm not sure why. I remember I was dabbling in them a bit here and there. Didn't pay all that much. Not that I didn't pay much attention to them. It just wasn't ones that was just like, oh, I'm gonna watch this one. I'm gonna check this out like on a continuous basis. I remember when I watched Starved Acre for the first time, and it just seemed like once I watched that, I was just immediately hooked. Whether it was Irish, British, you know, any other type of folklore horror films that comes from, you know, those particular regions, I've just become immediately hooked on. So glad to see that this is so far the route we're going. So over 7 hallucinatory days, a village with no name in an undefined time and place disappears. Townsman turned farmer Walter Thirsk and befuddled Lord of the Manor Charles Kent are childhood friends about to face an invasion from the outside world, the trauma of modernity, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. We have the writer director starring casting here. This is going to be based on a Jim Crace 2013 novel of the same name. Didn't know that. Okay, I'll have to check out that novel as well. And usually if films are based off novels, I do try my best to go search down the novel. If I can get a copy of it for a fairly good price, I'll typically pick it up, just because for me, I like whether I watch the movie first or read the book first, I like understanding both sets of content, just to see how different the film is from the book, and then vice versa, how different the book is from the film. That's just a personal preference thing I like doing. Shot on 16mm film by Sean Price Williams. It also okay, so we have the rest of the casting here. Harvest premiered in competition at the 2024 Venice International Film Festival and went on to play Toronto International Film Festival, New York Film Festival, BFI London Film Festival, and Glasgow Film Festival, among others. So it sounds like this film has been out for a while. It just says 2024, and I don't have the dates for all these festivals. So it is possible some of you may have already seen this film. Some of you may have already reviewed it, depending upon if you attended those festivals. I know some people do have access to those and are able to attend those. I'm not one of them. And again, I hadn't heard of this film last year when all these festivals were happening. U.S. distribution is still in the works. That's unfortunate. But the film opens in theaters in Germany on May 22nd and the UK, Ireland, Mexico, and Chile July 18th, before streaming in the UK, Ireland, Latin America, and more on August 8th from Mubi. So that's a bit unfortunate. So the US, we won't be, getting it for the foreseeable future, and it could be some time before we get it. Hopefully we get a date on that soon. But for those of you in those regions I just mentioned, sounds like you will be able to watch it fairly soon, specifically Germany, May 22nd. So a little less than, a month away. You'll be able to check it out. And then for the others, just a couple more months. All right, so we have the trailer here. We'll click on, and we have our what appears to be the first poster. The poster doesn't really give away too much. I'm not sure what to make of it. Now, it does have that look, feel, and vibe of a folklore type horror film. So it definitely fits the bill there. I do like how clean it is. But as I would probably say, and you've heard me say again, I would remove all of this small text down here. Just give me the name. Get rid of this little emblem here from probably one of the film festivals. Again, just give me the name. That's all I need on a movie poster. All right, so that's all the information we have for this film, or at least all the information I have for it. So let's get back to the top of the article. All right, so I'm going to pull up the trailer, and let's see what we got.
Other place, arsonist would be on hooks in common view. But our fields are far from anywhere. We have no magistrate, constable, and hope that everyone will take the blaze to be an act of God.
Here's the dream that I've had. Safe from vagabonds and longbows, weaving fortunes for ourselves from yarn.
These small dots here, these are your people.
We have become like animals, goat drunk and lecherous. We are no longer hungry. We're certainly not sober, at least for now.
My name's Edmund. I'm here to make improvements.
Is this law to run their lives?
If you go home, everyone will be safe.
Agriculture without profit is absurd.
Your maps, they ruin lives.
This is my house, goddammit!
This is our land.
So, not sure really what to make of this film. We didn't have much of a synopsis from the article, and the trailer doesn't really give. I mean, there's some bits in the trailer that at the beginning, they had a lot of people had other masks on. They were doing some sort of, I don't want to say ritual, but something at night. Some of them felt a little bit uneasy of what was going on. Some of them different. But I noticed it seemed like life was just going on very peacefully, very as a community, as a village. And then when the character Edmund shows up, and amongst others that were following him, like these black cloaks and garments, so to speak, I guess, if that's the best way to put it. The trailer then kind of took a drastic turn. It seemed like and he says coming to make improvements. And it seemed like then either he was trying to take over the community, torturing them, or something was happening to them psychologically, because we saw on at least 2 occasions there was a young boy, and then about 3/4 of the way through the trailer, and then right at the end there was this massive rock. It almost seemed like it was the exact same spot in rock where they were standing in front of it and then immediately smashing their heads on it. And the looks on their faces were as if they were in a trance, or they just weren't mentally there, as if they had been taken over by something, and then were just taking themselves out, so to speak. And then we saw a couple of other characters also going crazy, screaming, kind of losing it, so to speak. And then we almost saw that there was a point where they might be trying to revolt back against whoever these individuals are that have shown up to quote unquote make improvements. The one thing I will say about this film, though, or at least the trailer, I would say, I love the location itself. I love some of the shots that are here. You can definitely tell it has that look of 16 millimeter, which I do love, I do enjoy. But the one thing I will say that for me, when it comes to period piece films and something like this, where you can tell that the community lives out in, like, I don't want to say the wilderness, but out in the country, right? So they have to self-sustain out there. When you look at the costumes, their costumes looked like they were all just brand new, right out the box, just sewn up and handed out. It didn't have that real life look of these people, this is where they live, this is what they do day in, day out. I wouldn't expect their clothes to look so nice and clean and tidy. I wouldn't even expect their appearances to be the same. They all looked very clean cut, and their costumes or their garments looked very clean cut. Wouldn't expect that for a period piece film, based on the location, based on what they're going through, and how the community is built. Now, the ones that came in, like Edmund, those other ones that seem like more like noblemen or of higher society, I guess, if that's the best way to put it, I would expect their garments and things to look as such, but not the others in this village. So I will say, as a period piece film and someone who likes period pieces, that would be one of the knocks I would give this, that I would have hoped it would look somewhat more realistic than it does. Otherwise, I'm very intrigued about this. Like I said, I'm becoming a big fan of folklore horror within these regions, and I'm interested to see what's transpiring to drive them to what's happening in the latter part of this trailer. So very, very interested to see this one. Unfortunately, though, for me in the US, it seems like I won't be able to see this one for quite some time unless they come up with a date here in the soon or near future. Now, if it does get a physical release, and then the physical release happens to be region free, or if it's like region B coded, I may import the physical release and watch it that way. I have a region free Blu-ray player and DVD player, so I can always watch it that way if it gets a physical release. So anyways, that's going to do it for this horror trailer review for The Harvest. Again, it comes out for Germany on May 22nd in theaters, UK, Ireland, Mexico, Chile, July 18th, and then in early August, it comes out to Mubi on for UK, Ireland, and Latin America, and I think that was the ones that they had listed. US, we're gonna have to wait and see. TBD. We don't have a date for a theatrical, VOD, digital, or any streaming platform as of yet. So once I see that pop up, I will make sure to include it in an update video, whether we do it on a live video or if they give us more content on this, we'll just do another one. So drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think about Harvest. Again, coming to those regions on those dates. And if you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, we'll see you at the next one. Later.